Hey students, Mrs. Doulton here. Before we read chapter 6, I thought I would review some images that would help you understand the text better for chapters 1 through 6. So let's start. So in chapter 1, and also later on in the book, they'll reference the Tomato Man. The Tomato Man is simply a man who's selling tomatoes and other produce off the side of the street on St. Roch Avenue. So obviously these pictures are not from New Orleans or taken off the side of the St. Roch Avenue, but this is an example of a produce stand that little Tina's family would have passed by as they were driving to church that Sunday. Snowballs in New York, well, balls we make from snow, right? But down south, especially in Louisiana, there's snow cones. Yummy. Pralines, now that's another yummy treat, usually made with pecans. They're delicious. So you have pecans, other nuts, butterscotch, caramel, and it's a favorite dessert for people who reside down south. Now, Mama makes pralines, and she sells them on the side to bring in additional income for the family. And Jamila, and her aunt moved to Chicago. But Mama used to also make money watching Jamila while her aunt worked. But now that they moved back to Chicago, Mom has to make and bag more pralines. And she needs Little T to help her with the pralines. But of course, Little T just wants to spend his time with Buddy. This is what the collar looks like. It's an example that Buddy had to wear while he was recovering, just so that Buddy wouldn't move his head or lick his wound because they had to amputate his leg. So he was wearing a collar until the vet took it off. These are just some examples of a three-legged dog. I mean, these dogs all look very healthy and they're doing well, okay? And this is a dog that had 4 legs, but 1 leg was amputated. Let's quickly go into chapter 5 notes. In chapter 5, Buddy was criticized. He was called ugly. Little T had to learn how to groom him, to brush him, to trim his hair. The vet finally takes Buddy's collar off, and the chapter leaves off with Buddy appearing to be unhappy and tired and unable to stand up yet and take his first steps. Okay, let's move into chapter 6. Chapter 6 is exciting. Tanya, okay, the sister, who may be a little jealous that Little T has a dog. Well, anyway, she has a dream, and let's find out what this dream is all about. Tanya wakes me up that night screaming. Grandpa T's banging the door downstairs and cussing, and Mama comes whipping into the room like her hair's on fire. And baby Terrell starts up in his crib, and Tanya's sitting up in the bed next to mine screaming. "What is wrong?" Mama yells. And then Tanya stops, and I can hear the rain coming down like a waterfall on the porch roof outside the window. "I had a dream," she says, "and Buddy died." "That dog," Mama says, and rolls her eyes. She reaches around Tanya and hugs her up, and Tanya's kind of crying a little, and Daddy comes limping into the room carrying baby Terrell. "What's wrong?" he says. "Bad dream," I say, and the thunder rolls. Daddy sits down on my bed holding baby Terrell, who's smelling like a wet diaper. "I think I broke my toe," Daddy says. And then Grandpa T hustles in the door and says, "What the blue blazes is going on?" "Bad dream," I say again. Grandpa T looks over at Tanya. The way Tanya's hair is standing out all over her head, She sure looks like she had a bad dream. What were you dreaming about, he says. And Tanya's digging her fists in her eyes, and Mom is rubbing her back, and then Tanya hiccups, and she says, Buddy. We're all cheering around the house in the dark because you're dreaming about that dog, Grandpa T says. Tanya nods. He died, she says, and the lightning flashes all over the room. In your dream, I say. For true, she says, and looks at me with her great big old wet eyes. Then they start overflowing again. He couldn't never stand up, and so he died, she says. And he grew angel wings and flew up, and we were all standing on the ground watching. That ain't scary, I say, looking out the window toward where the shed is. Oh, I ain't finished, she says. And then a hand came out the sky, a giant hand, and it snatched him up and whisked him off into the clouds. Mama hugs Tanya up so tight. Tanya says, "Umph. That's the hand of God," Mama says. He took Buddy to dog heaven. Tanya's tears are starting up again. But the hand was scary, she says, and now Buddy's gone. It was a dream, Daddy says. Buddy's sleeping in the shed. Daddy looks out the window. He's in a dry place for a change. He's a happy dog tonight. He's dead, Tanya says. He's gone, gone, gone. She is looking down at her hands now, and the tears are just rolling down her face. That's foolishness, Grandpa T says. You need to be quiet now so your daddy can sleep. He's got to work in the morning. T Jr., go change that baby's diaper and put him back in the bed. And everybody, go back to sleep. Mama kisses up Tanya real good and pulls the covers up to her chin. She walks out the door and flips off the light. Me and Tanya are laying there in the dark, listening to the rain and watching the lightning on the wall. I'm thinking about Buddy laying in the dark outside. That shed's dry, but it's got a tin roof. And when it rains, it's so noisy you can't hardly hear the thunder. He didn't never stand up, I say real quiet. No, Tanya says. And then the big hand came. Do you think Buddy could die from laying down? He already did, and he grew angel wings. He ain't dead. I saw it. I didn't tell that part. He lay down on his side, and he closed his eyes, and he was still all over. And then his whole body started to twinkling like a Holy Spirit was in it, and then boom, he was on his feet, and he had angel wings. You dreamed it. I saw it. He's dead. I sit up in my bed. You're just a baby. You can't tell the difference between for true and dreaming. You dreamed he's dead. I saw it with my own eyes. Daddy busts open the door. You all be quiet. We're trying to go to sleep now. She says, be quiet. I mean it. Daddy slams the door. The dark fills up the room. I hear Tanya breathing all jaggedy next to me. In my mind, I see Buddy laying on that green army blanket. He's got it all pushed into bumps and hills. He's got his nose resting on his front feet. His sides are going in and out with breathing. And then in my mind, his sides stop going. Everything freezes up. There ain't no twinkling. He turns to stone, and then he's gone. In the morning, it's still raining so hard, Daddy can't go to work. The TV says schools are closed. They've got flooding up on Claiborne Avenue, and the street out in front of the house is a river. I dress and find an umbrella while Mama is still looking in the refrigerator for baby Terrell's bottle. Daddy says to go see if we got a paper, but I ain't listening. I'm out the back door and splashing through the puddle at the foot of the steps. I'm standing at the shed where that sign says Buddy's house, like it's so proud or something. And then I'm opening the door. And there's Buddy standing up on three legs. He's standing there all by himself with his white foot in his water bowl and that old blanket all gathered up under his feet and his tail just a-going. That caterpillar eyebrow is cocked to one side and he's grinning straight at me. Woof, Buddy says. I scream and Tanya comes running outside holding her doll by the hair and splashing through the rain. He's dead? She's yelling. I saw it. He's dead. He ain't dead, I say. He is alive. And he's standing up. Then we're both standing there looking at Buddy. Roof, Buddy says. Ruff, ruff. His ears are standing up on his head and he's grinning like he's prouder of himself than he's ever been in his life. But there ain't no wings, Tanya says. Mama, come see. And here comes Mama, right through the rain with the baby on her hip and a dish rag in her hand. And she says, well, I'll be. And by the time Daddy and Grandpa T get outside, Buddy's starting to walk. He hops and steps, and then he's standing right in front of me. He reaches up his nose and pokes it in my stomach, and it tickles, and I laugh, and I sing out, hallelujah! And then I get down on my hands and knees. I hug him around the neck. His fur is warm and soft, and he's smelling like those old wet leaves again. He's shaking all over, and his tail is whapping against that torn-up screen propped beside the door. I lean back and I look in his eyes. You're my buddy, I say. And he's licking my nose and my mouth and my eyes and going, woof, woof, in my ear. And I'm laughing so hard, I fall backwards into the rain. And I look up at the sky and I swear I see that old sun just starting to break through. Wow, what a great chapter, students. What an amazing dream Tanya had, and how, perhaps Buddy was so startled by the rain and the thunderstorm and all the commotion and the screaming that was going on inside of that house. Buddy was probably just stood up, as a result of it. And it was probably what got him to stand up. He had to gather the courage and to get up, because Buddy was probably frightened, right? I forgot to show you one image, I believe. Okay, here we go. So a shed with a tin roof, just to show you. Buddy's shed probably looks something like that. And when the rain falls on a tin roof, it makes a lot of noise. And that probably startled Buddy, but it got him up. Let's look at chapter 6 notes. The setting takes place in Little T's home. Major plot points. Tanya dreams that Buddy died. The dream causes a great disturbance in the home. And Buddy did not die. As a matter of fact, Buddy is doing well and standing up on his 3 legs for the first time. And Buddy also begins to walk. Here's an important quote. I lean back and look in his eyes. You're my buddy, I say. And he's licking my nose and my mouth and my eyes and going ruff, ruff in my ear. And I'm laughing so hard I fall backwards into the rain. And I look up at the sky and I swear I see that old sun just starting to break through. So little T, in a sense, is experiencing some hope in his life, right? In the previous chapter, people were saying that Buddy was ugly and he's 3-legged and he'll never walk. And even despite the thunderstorm and the rain, little T sees hope. That old sun is just starting to break through. So it's not just that the sun is coming out the next day. The sun is symbolic of hope, okay, in little T's life. So here's the internal conflict inside. Tanya has a dream that Buddy died, okay? Tanya may be struggling with the fact that Buddy is little T's dog and not hers. Jealousy shows itself in different ways. So for today's Stop and Jot question, you're going to describe a dream that you've had that seems so real that you thought the events were true. You may have to think about that. I don't want to hear you never had a dream, or you never had a dream where you woke up and you didn't know if the events were real or not. Maybe discuss with your mom or your dad or sisters or brothers or friends if you ever woke up, from having a bad dream or a dream that seemed real or not. Okay, so that's the Stop and Jot. Don't forget to open it up as a separate Google form and turn it in. And I will see you for chapter 7. Okay.